Assalamu alaikum. Today we will talk in detail about a very important and sensitive chapter of Islamic history, the relationship between Muslims and the Jewish tribes in Medina, and how these events finally led to the Battle of Khaybar. After the Treaty of Hudaybiyyah, many Muslims felt sadness and confusion because they were not allowed to enter Makkah for Umrah, and it seemed outwardly like a defeat. But Allah revealed in Surah Al-Fath that this treaty was in fact a clear and open victory. Through this treaty, the Quraysh accepted Muslims as a recognized political power, and the Muslims gained peace on their southern side. This peace allowed Islam to spread rapidly, because people could now listen to the message without fear of war. It also allowed the Prophet to deal with the internal and northern threats that were constantly plotting against Medina. When Prophet Muhammad migrated to Madinah, he found several Jewish tribes living there who followed the teachings of Moses and believed in scripture and prophethood. Because of this shared belief, the Prophet hoped they would recognize him as the final messenger and support his mission. A constitution of Medina was made, in which Muslims, Jews, and Arab tribes agreed to live together peacefully and defend the city jointly. However, when Muslims began to gain strength and victory, especially after the Battle of Badr, jealousy and fear grew among some Jewish leaders. Instead of honoring their treaties, they began to mock Islam, provoke unrest, and secretly support the enemies of the Muslims, especially the Quraysh of Makkah. One by one, due to repeated betrayals and violations of agreements, Jewish tribes such as Banu Qaynuqa, Banu Nadir, and Banu Qurayza were expelled from Medina or punished for treason, and most of them went to settle in Khaybar. Khaybar then became not only a town, but a political and military headquarters where plans were made against the Muslims. Wealth was collected, and alliances with Arab tribes were formed to weaken Medina. Khaybar was extremely important because it was rich in agriculture, especially date farms, and it was protected by strong fortresses built on rocky land. The people of Khaybar believed that no army could defeat them behind these walls. From Khaybar, they encouraged and funded attacks like the Battle of the Trench, where a huge coalition of tribes tried to destroy the Muslim community. After Hudaybiyyah, when the Quraysh were bound by a truce and could not attack, the Prophet turned his attention to Khaybar because it had become the center of conspiracy and danger. He announced the expedition and made it clear that only those who had gone with him to Hudaybiyyah would join, which separated sincere believers from those who only wanted material gain. The Muslim army marched with careful strategy, blocked supply routes, and arrived near Khaybar early in the morning. When the farmers of Khaybar came out to their fields and saw the Muslim army, fear spread among them, and they rushed back into their fortresses. The fighting was not easy, because Khaybar was divided into several forts, and each one had to be taken separately. For many days, the Muslims faced arrows and stones from above the walls while standing exposed in the open, and their food supplies became scarce. The defenders felt protected behind their strong walls, and it seemed as if victory was far away. Then came the turning point. One night, the Prophet announced that the banner of Islam would be given the next day to a man who loved Allah and His Messenger, and was loved by Allah and His Messenger, and that victory would come through his hands. Many companions hoped to receive this honor, including Umar ibn al-Khattab, who later said he never desired leadership as much as he did that day. In the morning, the Prophet asked for Ali ibn Abi Talib, who was suffering from severe eye pain. The Prophet healed him and placed the banner in his hand. When the Jewish champion Murhab came out wearing heavy armor and challenging the Muslims to single combat, Ali stepped forward. In a fierce duel, Ali defeated him, and then his brother was also killed. This shattered the morale of the defenders, and soon the gates of the fortress were breached. One by one, the forts of Khaybar fell, and finally, the people of Khaybar surrendered. The Prophet did not order revenge or mass killing. Instead, he allowed them to remain on their land and cultivate it, giving a portion of their produce to the Muslim state. This clearly shows that the conflict was not about hatred of Jews as a people or rejection of their faith in Moses. It was about broken treaties, political betrayal, and military aggression. Islam honors previous prophets and teaches justice even with enemies. But it also requires loyalty, honesty, and security for the community. When those principles were violated repeatedly, military action became necessary. From the story of Khaybar, we learn deep lessons about patience, planning, unity, and trust in Allah. Victory does not come only from numbers or weapons, but from discipline, faith, and moral strength. The events of Khaybar explain why relations between Muslims and Jewish tribes in Medina changed over time, and how political actions led to military consequences. History should be understood with wisdom and balance, not with blind anger or hatred. Finally, an important message for the Muslim people today, especially regarding Gaza. This history reminds us that Islam stands with the oppressed and commands us to support them through lawful and peaceful means such as prayer, charity, spreading awareness, and standing for justice. We must not turn our pain into hatred for entire nations or religions, but we must raise our voices for the protection of innocent lives and human dignity. Gaza today is a symbol of suffering and endurance. And as an Ummah, we should respond with unity, patience, and action, guided by Islamic ethics. Stay connected to your faith, strengthen your character, help those in need, and remember that Allah is with those who remain patient. And just don't forget to like and subscribe if you like that, and share this message so others can learn from history and reflect on the present reality. Aslam, alaikum.